welcome. Hello and good evening or good morning. I don't wherever you're joining from. Say hello in the chat box. Welcome to this MiniVersity special lecture. Very, very special lecture. I'm excited to introduce our guest lecturer today. While we wait for folks to join, say hello in the chat box. Tell me where you're joining from, and welcome to this MiniVersity. Welcome. Hi, guys. Hi, Janice. Good to see you from Canada. Good to see you. What's everybody up to? Say hello if you're just joining. We're about ready to start. We have about a minute, and then we'll begin our MiniVersity. It's been a while since we've met up, and then I'm also going to just take you through some of the things that are going on in my neck of the woods before we join our special guest. Hi, Marcella. Good to see you. Jersey Shore is in the house. Louise, good to see you. God, awesome, awesome, awesome. Welcome, everybody. Well, let me get right to what's going on in my neck of the woods while people are joining, and then we can get right to the MiniVersity lecture. Thank you. And if you are just joining and never joined me before, join any of my webinars. I'm Darren Scala with D. Thomas Miniatures, and I am unapologetic miniatures. I love miniatures, and I promote them every chance I get. And really, this MiniVersity series is really all about spreading the word about miniatures and just taking deep dives into certain areas of miniatures, especially what we're going to talk about today, the Kruger Collection. I did just get back from the London Dolls House Festival in Kensington in the UK. It was awesome. I just posted in the chat box links to, if you want to see my latest haul from the London show, I have that posted on my YouTube channel. I do have an estate sale starting in the mid to late June. There is also a link in the chat box if you want to go take a sneak peek. I'll also be adding more to that sneak peek as we get closer to the estate sale. It's a wonderful estate, just an eclectic mix of wonderful, yummy miniatures, artisan manufactured pieces, art dolls. Spring Flower Show is still happening. If you haven't gotten over to Brooklyn to see it, I did post a virtual tour of the Spring Flower Show. If you want to take a look at that, there is a link also in the chat box to that. Hold the date, Sunday, June 9th. I will be having another MiniVersity. This one will be more of a DIY with Sue Conlon from Sue's Small Obsession. She's got a really, really popular account on Instagram, wonderful followers, and she basically talks a lot about how to get stuff done if you've got a project going on. And finally, in the links, you will also find all of the links to all of my social media channels, so you can follow me there and see what's going on. And with that, I will bring up our wonderful guest, Sophia Perdikaris from the University of Nebraska in Lincoln. She is a professor of anthropology. She is also the director of School of Integrated Studies. She is now overseeing the Kruger Collection, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. She's got a lot on her plate, and she's leaving Saturday for an awesome, well, we're going to get into it, but it's a whole project that you're going on. You'll take us through that. So thank you for joining today. So great to see you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because I think that's an important part of all of this. And then, of course, we'll want to get into the Kruger Collection, but make that connection for us of what you do now, what is your background, and that connection to miniatures, and especially the Kruger Collection of miniatures at the University of Nebraska. Yay.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I'm an anthropologist, and within that, I'm an environmental archaeologist. So I look at people-environment interactions through time. And for the last 20 years, I have been working in the island of Barbuda, which is the nation of Antigua and Barbuda, where we actually have two museums that, I put together in 2013 with my students. And in one of the museums which has survived the big storm of 2017 is the Historic Museum. We actually have a miniature of an archaeological excavation that was created with some of my art students. And a lot of art and miniatures have taken place in sort of telling stories, because that's what I love about miniatures is you can really tell stories. You don't need words.
Yeah.
And as an archaeologist, I do that regularly because when you excavate, you have artifacts, and that is the story of people in the past. So it is really critical to be able to see what those artifacts tell you. So instead of words, I use objects, and then, you know, it's all about storytelling. It is
Yeah.
all about connecting facts from the past and their artifacts and behaviors, and then giving the stories for people today. And
Yeah.
yeah, go
So,
ahead. Go ahead,
so
Bobby.
how did this connection, how did the Kruger Collection come to, tell us a little bit about the Kruger Collection. How did it come to the University of Nebraska? And then how did you get connected to it? Because I think it's a really interesting story, that connection to you and how and why you are overseeing it today.
Yeah, the collection was given to the university in 1997. That is 2 years after the passing of Eloise Kruger. She was, at the time that she passed away, was November 19 of 1995. She was 81 years old. And it was given to, for the care of, under the School of Architecture, the College of Architecture. And prior to that, Mrs. Kruger in 1975 also had approached History Nebraska, and they were the first ones to actually receive some of the pieces that she had as part of her collection. So fast forward to 2 years ago, during the years in architecture, there has been a number of projects with room boxes created by students and faculty, and then having some artistic displays of, a few objects at a time. But architecture was going under major renovation, the building, and there hadn't been enough involvement with the miniatures to give them the proper attention. So I was called in by the then dean and said, hey, you have a museum studies program, and I really would love for you to take on the miniatures, and
Yeah.
would you be interested? And I did an internal tap dance because that was a very exciting opportunity. And I said, absolutely. And of course, I didn't think about, where do you put 20,000 miniatures? I spoke to my dean. We looked for existing spaces that didn't exist. So I ended up designing a space in our current floor, 8th floor of Old Father building at UNL. And it had to be a small footprint in terms of the gallery space, and it had to have a dual function of appropriate storage and display. And so that is what you see is our new space, which we had the opening on May 3rd. And we have two different kinds of cabinets for smaller objects and larger objects. And I want to give a shout out to Linda Kolstead, who has joined your chat and is watching this, because she's actually my collections assistant, and she's right now in Bellingham, Washington.
Beautiful.
And she's watching with great interest. She's amazing because this entire gallery space was filled floor to ceiling with boxes of miniatures.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to talk to you about that because I think part of a lot of what you've been able to accomplish is cataloging the collection, correct?
Yeah, it's not fully finished, but it's a lot further along.
But can we take a little bit of a step back? I know I have some photos. I wanted to share some of her collection. Can we talk a little bit about the kinds of miniatures she collected, what actually ended up in the 20,000, the types of miniatures we're talking about? Maybe talk a little bit about some of the surprises when you were going through the collections.
With this particular collection, every single box was an exciting surprise. So she has everything. She was interested in definitely everything up until early 20th century. And yes, that's this particular room box. Actually, it's a Renaissance room box that was created by an architecture student, but I did with Linda's help, we put all the furnishings together because it called to be that kind of space. The boxes speak for themselves and they call out for a purpose.
So let me
So
ask you, the collection came in both boxes, room boxes, as well as individual pieces, or did most of it come in individual pieces?
most of it in individual pieces. The parts that came from History Nebraska, we did not have any information about a catalog. So that was definitely a discovery. And what helped a lot with that is Eloise's meticulous notes that were in cursive. And we had to look at that, and that is one of the ways that when you see the Tudor house later, we were able to locate the furniture that went into each one of the rooms.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's the
Ah,
child's room from
yes.
the Tudor house.
Do
And
do we have an indication of where she might have shopped and where she found her treasures? She traveled a lot, correct?
yeah, she did. And actually, we have an extensive Japanese and Chinese miniatures that came into the collection, and also pieces from Mexico.
Yeah.
So yeah, she traveled a lot. She was an accountant in the I believe 40s, and she had also a firm in Lincoln. That's part of our Japanese room box.
Mm,
This was one of the student projects. We had 20 room boxes on display. 5 of them were actually student projects, and the sixth one was a project with our interns. Yes, so this is part of the tea ceremony in a Japanese household. So yes, in the over the spring, we worked, Linda and I, with 26 students,
yeah.
and in collaboration with the Quilt Museum, the International Quilt Museum here, because we are treating miniatures not as the beautiful objects that they really are, but also museum pieces. And so we introduce people, students, to the Quilt Museum because they had to learn, how do you come up with a big idea?
Mm,
How do you come up with a room box?
yeah.
What kind of research do you need to know? What do you need to know about the time period and the objects, and handling, and a good exhibit versus a bad exhibit, and then being in an actual big physical space to have these kinds of interactions with curators.
Mm,
Side note, you're showing the Rococo music parlor,
ah,
and that is the one that we did with our interns.
uh-huh.
Now, this parlor has a funny story. When the interns came up with their project and their research, they wanted to do something that was connecting Bridgerton, Pride and Prejudice, and a touch of Beauty and the Beast. So there you have it.
Love it.
But the funny story is on the curtain rods. When we had the opening, I had the honor of meeting some of the extended family of Eloise Kruger that participated, and someone in the family who was married to the family shared with me a funny story. One of the questions that Jane asked Eloise was, "Hey, you're traveling all over the world. Aren't you scared?" And Eloise said, "I have always my hat on, and I have hat pins." And so she had her weapon, that was her hat pins. So we actually used her hat pins to make curtain rods as an honor to Eloise and her story, and her brave soul of going all over the world, not just for her job, but actually collecting her miniatures and continuing her hobby alongside with her profession.
That's beautiful. Can you talk a little bit about how she structured the donation to the university and what she ultimately wanted? Because there's a focus on students and education. Was that really
Correct.
that important to her, correct?
That was extremely important, and I think that that aspect comes in from her earlier life. She only completed 2 years at UNL, and then she had to drop out because her father abandoned the family. So she actually lived with her aunts and uncles for a while to help have her siblings go through school, and they all graduated. But she was a big proponent of education, and she was a lover of history and architecture, interior design. This one here is the silversmith box made by Eugene Kapchak, and what's featured in it is some of Eugene Kapchak's furniture. The two tables are his, and also the fireplace mantle and two columns on either side. And Eugene Kapchak was one of her favorite miniaturists, and he worked with sterling silver. And he coated his silver pieces in rhodium so they don't tarnish, which is beautiful. But the two carpets that you see, one which is the braided carpet and the other one which is the sailing ship in petit point, those were made by Eloise. And that is one of the things that she picked up later in life when she became a creator of miniatures, not just, buying or commissioning or what have you. So yes, and this is the hunt room from the Tudor house. And that was a lot of fun putting together. And what you don't see is a bagpipe in one of the back areas. And that was one of the, because one of the things that we have to do when we put these things together is do the research on the objects and make sure that they are appropriate for the time period and that their style is appropriate from the time period, not just, as a subject item.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's back
I
to,
said that one already.
yeah, but that's okay.
Sorry.
So going back to the story of getting the collection, my meeting was with the then Dean of Architecture, Catherine Ankerson, who is now our Executive Vice Chancellor. And I did this box honoring honoring Kathy, because she was the visionary that allowed me to have this collection and work with it with my students and be able to share it in a much wider way with everybody that wants to see it. Oh, I see we have some chat questions. So anyway, that architecture room was made, and I called it the Ankerson Architectural Design. And it has, and thanks to Linda, we actually have in the bulletin board a clipboard that says, call Eloise about the scale model. So we brought Eloise into the architecture room.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a better way to honor her and her work than putting pieces like this together and putting them in a way that people understand, which really leads me to, I want to wrap this portion up because I want to share something that's I just love about what you're doing in terms of the educational piece. So I want to find the video, the photograph of the tower. Hold on, to share this. Don't touch that dial because I can't find my share screen. Hold on, don't.
That's
move.
okay. It's all good.
This piece right here.
Yes, that actually, this entire tower was built by the students in our class, and you can find links to the student projects on the website. And so we had 5 groups of students, and they had to come up with an idea about what they wanted to feature with the miniatures. And this particular one wanted to feature Eloise and her different hats. I have to use the word, right? So this the side that you cannot see very well says created.
What she made.
They went through her early years of collecting quality miniatures, then pieces that she has commissioned, and then eventually the kind of pieces that she worked with and built herself. So what you cannot see very well, but it's one braided carpet, and the other one is the tapestry of a chair. The chair itself was created by Eric Pearson, another one of her favorite miniaturists, and she did all the tapestry. The one question in the chat is about what the students are majoring. And actually, what I love about miniatures is one of the most interdisciplinary object, of study that you can bring together. In my class, students were majoring in archaeology, in museum studies, in architecture, in journalism, in graphic arts. Sky's the limit. Because you can look at miniatures and you can use them in so many different ways. And then the things that you have to design as students, which is students did a lot of research and posters and QR codes. And, as you can see in this particular exhibit, we had a whole bunch of flyers that people could take home with them about, the different eras in Eloise's life.
Yeah.
And so
I think what this really, shows is just the different facets of, quote unquote, playing in miniatures. And I usually tell people you could either make miniatures, you could, make miniatures, you can buy miniatures, you could be an all-around enthusiast, do none of those things. But I love how you put this together in an easy way to show people you could do all these different things, and in within the miniatures world. I do have a question about the students. What were some of the key outtakes? I mean, did they love the project?
They loved the project,
Yeah.
and also each and every student was able to walk away with a portfolio, because I mentioned before how I would take them to the International Quilt Museum and we work with curators there to understand the processes of a museum, how to handle objects, how to come up with a big idea, and so on and so forth. But they also learned how to digitize objects. So we have actually purchased, as part of our gallery, a 3D scanner for miniatures. And they learn how to first create a SketchUp in digital, how to actually digitize 360 the objects, because our long-term goal is to actually create a virtual museum with the scans of the miniatures, and also give the opportunity to the miniature enthusiasts, whichever discipline they might represent, to actually virtually pick up the objects and look at them,
Oh,
and sort of interact with them.
yeah, I love it. I love it. So let's do the virtual tour, shall we? Go through
Sure.
the gallery. I'm gonna find the video and share the video, and maybe just take us through the actual gallery.
Sure.
Do you see it? Hold on. Let's close that. Let's close that because I got so many things open. Hold on. Let me go back here.
Yeah. So anyway, we're hoping to do at least 1 or 2 specialty openings per year, in terms of featuring special content.
Okay.
And it's not playing?
That's not playing. I don't know why. All right, hold on. Let's see. Why is it not playing?
Because it would like to give you a hard time when we're publishing.
Exactly. All right, hold on 1 second. I'm going to open it. Maybe that's the issue. It might not be open. Hold on. Could be because I have a lot of things open. Hold on. We need to show. Oh, here we go. Can you see it?
I can see it.
Okay, now we're moving. We have movement. Okay, so this is the virtual walkthrough. Thank you.
Yes, I wanted to thank actually Haley McCord. She's my assistant here. And because I was like, you have steady hands and a good eye and you can do things. So that's the Rococo music parlor that I talked about before, and Eloise with hat pins. Then this is the silversmith, Eugene Kapchak's sterling silver pieces on display, each one of them with a story. And we also have copies of his catalogs where he talks about those miniatures. The architecture room.
Can we just go back a second about Eugene Kupchak? Do we think that she was influenced at all by Narcissa Blackthorne and the Thorn Rooms because of Eugene Kupchak's involvement in that?
She might have been, but a lot of what she collected was the objects themselves. And the Thorn is such a different display of miniatures. So she was an avid collector of individual pieces by Kapchak.
I get it.
Yeah.
Did she have a dollhouse? Do we know?
The Tudor house was donated by Eloise, but most of the pictures that we have from her miniatures, she was creating more of room box kind of display. Yeah.
Okay.
this is an artist, a starving artist, being at the university, we had to add the word starving,
Right.
so representing artistic college students. And the furniture for this artist, brownstone, is something that Eloise had used in her room boxes, but the rest is all our poetic sort of like development and putting together. So being that you're talking about the flower show, we actually have a florist, a baker sort of store, and so much material from on fabric. And the seamstress room has a whole shelf about quilting, and another one for needlepoint, so on and so forth. Really a lot of detail. This here is a forensic scene from the Starkweather case, a very gruesome part of Lincoln history from 1958. The grocery stand is something that Eloise purchased as such. This here is a thatcher's barn. So you can see the thatch that can be used for a roof, and sort of like a rendition of, elements that would come into a barn with creatures and splitting wood and getting ready to fix yet another roof. Then there you go. The glass window is in the office space that we use to catalog, digitize, photograph, and fix or create miniatures. These 1960s rooms, the bedroom and the living room, were actually to honor a little bit of Eloise's spirit. It is about a traveling woman of the 60s. So the LP records that you see, all the album covers are true to 1960 through 1964. And then on the table, you have learning French and a world atlas, a camera, reading the New York Times on the sofa, maybe having a glass of wine next to the phone, being, sort of like liking sports and, tennis. And in the bedroom is her suitcase with the stickers from different places that she has been, objects that she has collected from, her travels. Then that you have seen already, we talked about. Now,
we did have a question about the paintings.
Yes.
Yeah, could you address that? I mean, are the paintings and the wall hangings, are they original works? Are they reprints? What's been your observation and discovery?
Most of the paintings are actually original, and we also have paintings that were bought in large scale by Eloise and then were copied onto mini canvases by hand painting.
Oh,
so
right.
Yeah, so they're not just photographs. Like in this room box that we are looking at in the screen right now, both of those paintings that are on the wall are handmade, and they're very important actually, because they connect with a room box that we're going to see in just a minute when you play. Let's go to the next room box, not the one after this one. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, the next one. Okay.
We see the other side. We didn't
see. Yes, you see the other side. They created
now. She created that chair. I mean, she did upholstery on that.
Yes.
That's so impressive. Really impressive.
It is impressive.
It is.
It's beautifully done. And so the next room box right next to this tower is actually a room box that is not about having detail in every single room. The rooms are thematic, but it's not like a lived room with all the details. And the students that worked on this room box wanted to feature the women artisans. So the two pictures from before, and everything that you see in this room box was created by women.
And the students put that story together using the miniatures. I think that's so smart.
Yep.
So smart.
They were amazing. They worked so hard, and they had, one student had family members from California flying in for the opening.
Again, quite a lot of research and pulling out the artist, the female
Yep.
artist, and then figuring out the pieces that work together, work well.
Mhm.
Bravo,
Yeah.
bravo.
Yeah.
Yes.
So no, they worked really, really hard in order to come up with their big idea and
Mhm.
all the data behind that big idea.
My goodness, I love it. I love it. I love it. So is the idea now each not season semester to have a whole new group of students work on that specific idea, a big idea, and use
Yes, and
miniatures?
they have to come with a big idea. Also, in the near future, like next year, we're going to be announcing some possibilities for people to have a paid opportunity to create. And they can be from any field, architecture, interior design, history, whatever.
Yeah.
They have to put together a proposal, and then our awards committee is going to review it, and the winning proposal will come to implementation. But for next year, we're going to do a mini special exhibit just with interns in the fall, in September. And then in the spring, with the class, we're going to have the big idea. But the big idea is going to be a little bit different because we are getting a whole dollhouse donated that is fully furnished in January.
Oh, wow.
So the students are going to learn how to access, how to catalog, how to do all of the processes from having a box and a dollhouse, and
Yeah.
how do you enter all of that in museum quality cataloging, doing the pictures, and bring it to a fully furnished dollhouse.
Yeah.
And that dollhouse has an important history because Eloise inspired many people. So this particular dollhouse that is coming in January, it was the wife of a colleague in chemistry who was inspired by Eloise, and she encouraged her parents to go into miniatures and dollhouses as part of their hobby during their retirement years. And everything has been photographed in different stages, really good quality miniatures, all of those wonderful things. Unfortunately, both the parents and my colleague's wife has passed away, and her wish was that the dollhouse gets donated and becomes part of the Eloise Kruger collection that inspired it to begin with.
Oh, I was wondering what the connection was going to be and how those don't step on each other's toes. That's
Right.
that's great.
Yeah.
That is lovely. Oh,
Yeah, because I think her legacy is so far reaching. So not only does she inspire students and they can do all these different works from different perspectives and different disciplines, and with such beautiful miniatures, but also the larger community that had experienced her story either through architecture or through some of the exhibits or what have you. It made life choices and life changes that were really pretty substantial.
yeah.
And they lived with her legacy and through their lives, and then they created these new hobbies but new way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
And for me, having that dollhouse as part of the Eloise Kruger, it is really important because it speaks about the incredible legacy that Eloise has been.
And I bet it brought them tremendous joy. At the end of the day, I think miniatures are about making people happy. I mean, it
Yep.
does all of the other things, but I think first and foremost, it's dopamine hits. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So should we finish the virtual tour?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's definitely dopamine for me because I love nothing more than have these perfect little worlds that I can vicariously exist in my head in them.
Yes.
So
Wait, I want to go back because I don't want to miss this.
if you stop this one, that was a project that was done in a different way, probably by interior design long ago. But when I saw this room box, I was like, oh, this can be so much fun. So information about individual chairs, I placed in little frames. So created a gallery of chairs through time so people can look at them from an interior design perspective in terms of changes in style and miniatures and so on and so forth as chairs go. But third chair in, is a straddle chair. And if you start the video again, you will see that there is a book open. The book is actually part of the display because in Eloise's notes, she gave a copy of this book as a present to Eric Pearson in 1963, October of 1963. And he created the straddle chair, actually 2 straddle chairs. And you can see the straddle chair in the lower right corner of the book.
What is a straddle chair? I thought that was a telephone book chair. What is that?
A straddle chair is a chair that you don't sit like this, but you actually turn around and you face the back of the chair and you rest your arms on either side.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
So,
beautiful.
Yeah. And then,
love that whole exhibit right there.
Right. And then I also, with Linda, we have been faithfully attending antique, estate sales, because the furniture in the room, like you saw, the 2 chairs and the side table, we see Eloise Kruger in many of the antiques. So we actually wanted to bring emphasis on the 1:12 scale and real scale, and then created some of the niches in the room with actual antiques that we have in the collection that we were able to find full scale.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the chairs come out of the box and into the room.
I love that.
Mariner's room, we just passed it. Mariners were very important in the formation of America. A lot of fun putting together that room box. Now, this room box is about Japan to Nebraska. We have a very special relationship with Japan. I'm going to be co-leading actually an education abroad program for 3 weeks in Japan next year.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's big.
And yeah.
No, I was going to say that we love the miniatures that are coming out of Japan right now. It's just an incredible maker's place.
And in Japan, miniatures are not considered, a hobby or something, atypical. It is part of their culture. So we, in the Ed Abroad program, we're going to be looking actually at the reuse of textiles and fabrics. So how do you make things out of older things, and you don't throw things away? But also, personally, I'm going to be looking into miniatures as well, and textiles in particular.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Wow. So, when is that happening?
Next June.
We might have to have you come back on and tell us all about it.
Anytime. So in the room box with Japan, you had a gallery on top, and then you had tea room, a shrine room, bedroom, that kind of stuff. Now, yes, that's the gallery with Nechukis and all kinds of important objects in Japanese culture, and a hina doll having a kimono on in the dressing room. Really a lot of fun. The students did an amazing job with that. Now, this one was something that perplexed Eloise, because this room box, the wood, not the furnishings, are made out of oak, which is a very difficult material to work with. It is a hardwood, and she loved it. And we have her writings asking Eric Pearson, did you do this? Did you make this? And to this day, the maker is unknown.
Oh, really? But we know it's made of oak?
Yes.
Which is very difficult to work in miniature.
Exactly.
What are we talking about? The stairway and the banister, the second level of the box?
Everything that is inside the box except for the furnishings.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, and then because it was an Adam's time period inspired room box of sorts, then we actually looked at the collection and tried to put pieces in it to make it appropriate for the time period.
Beautiful. Yeah. Interesting.
And this one, this is a mural of a and you can get a lot more information on the website as part of the students project, because they did a story map. This was a farm in Portal, Nebraska. Portal doesn't exist anymore because this farm has been bulldozed and is now part of Sharpie County. The picture comes from History Nebraska, and there are 2 room boxes associated with the picture. One is the kitchen of the main house, and the other one is the cornfield and inside the barn. And this particular farm was actually really important, and there was a lot of research done on the windmill that appears in the picture, because it's done in a Dutch style and it was made by the farm owner. The whole research project is talking about settling in Nebraska, homesteading, resilience, all kinds of nature interactions about not going hungry. And the students in their projects, they actually have one of the early land deeds where they were guaranteeing, if you have room, if you have a parcel in Nebraska, that you will not go hungry for 5 years.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, combining many different disciplines in one, featuring agriculture, which is part of today's Nebraska identity.
Yeah, I love what you've done here. Pull these pieces together, have the students working on these projects, and this is a full sweep of the room.
Of the gallery, yeah.
Well, there's the Tudor dollhouse.
There is the Tudor dollhouse. You see, in this one, you see the Jacobean bedroom. It has the colors of Scotland. That's why it's different than the rest of the rooms. Right below that is the kitchen. And
Wow.
yeah. And then let's see which way. The outdoors has the War of the Roses, red roses for Tudor, white roses for York. They fought. Tudor is on the protected area. York is out with the wind because they were the losing party in this particular war. Over here you have the child's bedroom, which we looked at before. Then to the right of that is the linen room. And the great hall at the bottom. So even though this is supposed to be Tudor time period, I did not put the carpets on top of the furnishings because I wanted to bring attention. But if we were to do a true Tudor time period, they had beautiful carpets that they would put on top of the tables because they didn't want them to be worn. So a very different use of carpets than what we're used to today. The still room, where you do all kinds of preserves and things, the hunt room, tea room, and master bedroom on this side.
Do we know who made the Tudor house? We don't know.
We don't know. And actually, when I was doing some restoration and repairs on the house itself, that house and its furnishings were given to History Nebraska in 1975. And Eloise's wishes, which we have in writing, was that the Tudor house will be on a permanent display. Right. We finally can honor her wishes. But in really looking close up of this Tudor house, is actually two houses connected in one.
Yeah, I mean, it's unusual to have the dollhouse visible on all four sides.
Right.
It's awesome.
So it's some interesting sort of like, post creation of room boxes and dollhouses and joined together. So there you have it. And and getting ready for the fall, we're gonna have a special exhibit featuring a particular author. I'm going to leave details out until have more, but this particular author is going to be talking as part of the Ian Thompson series on September 24th, and we probably will be having a smaller group of students coming to the gallery for a signing of the book.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that remains.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the digitizing and having access. That is your next major.
Yes, and
right?
That will be taking place regardless of the physical exhibits that we put up, because that is an ongoing process. And I hope to be bringing some people on staff in the fall to be able to specifically keep on working, because it takes many hours to have a proper 360 scan and then uploading it. So what we worked on this spring, we did some of the digitizing, but now I purchased two storage devices of, I think there were 4 terabytes each, because they take a ginormous space. And so, because what we're hoping to do is our images to be stored in multiple areas, including the big server of the university, because you don't want all this hard work to disappear along with the changing technology or some, I don't know, technological malfunction of sorts.
So what's the best place? What's the best way that folks can follow you and what's going on? Is there is it the university Instagram account? Like, how do we keep up with everything that's going on?
Yeah, we have been putting things up on our web pages, but we are in the process of doing Instagram and also Facebook. And with those, I think people will be able to follow more,
Yeah.
sort of more closely our development. And
Specific to the Kruger
mhm,
Collection?
mhm.
Yeah. Okay. That'd be awesome.
And what we are also going to add in the spring semester when we work with a museum exhibits class is a blog. So
Ah.
people can follow step by step, from inception to creation, how it all comes together.
Yeah, I think that's awesome that you guys are doing such great stuff. I'm so glad you're here to talk about it and tell us about it. Why don't we see if there's any questions before we wrap up this MiniVersity lecture? Does anybody have any questions for Sophia? I think this has just been so amazing. When I first found out about this, I was like, I need to talk to you. This is so great. It
Mhm.
just takes everything full circle. And just it just for me personally, it just raises the level of credibility that miniatures deserve in the world of art, in the world of education, in just in for the hobby itself. So
Absolutely.
I'm just really very happy that you're doing what you're doing and so thrilled by all of what we're seeing. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
I don't see any last questions, but I will thank you so much for joining
Thank you for
today.
having me.
Good luck on your travels. Wait, do we have
Thank-
one last card? Roger Collection Museum again in Facebook. Okay, well then, when will that be? When can we see you on Facebook? Roger.
Uh, Me, or because they're
Um,
talking about the Roger collection, or is that Kruger?
yeah, I think Kruger Collection should be seen again in Facebook. When? Yeah.
We're hoping in the fall.
In the fall.
Over the summer, Linda is in Washington State, so she's coming back in 3 weeks. We're going to be working on the new exhibit. Hopefully by September, we're going to be active and out there. I did share some links on the chat for people that want to look at some of the pages around Kruger at UNL, but you can always just do UNL Kruger and you can get a multitude of things from the news article that they did right before the opening of the exhibit. That is an important article because he also has contact information. If any of you are passing by Lincoln and want a physical, tour of the exhibit, we can do those, and we can do them by appointment. We're also going to be having First Fridays, which is an event in Lincoln where galleries and spaces are open for anyone to walk in and see. So
Okay.
First Fridays, 3 to 5 p.m., always open and welcomed with some refreshments at the Kruger Gallery.
You're awesome. Thank you so much again
Thank
for being here.
you.
Thank you, everybody at home, for being involved in this mini-versity, and have a great rest of your night and day. Thank you and
Thank,
goodbye. All right,
thank
bye.
you and goodbye.